Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's podcast. I am riding solo today. I got Pastor Tony behind the microphone. Say hey to everybody, Pastor Tony.
Hey, everybody.
He's mixing the board today and making us sound good and making us look pretty. I don't watch podcasts, and so these are always super weird to me. Trying to be creative and what to say. What do people want to hear on a podcast? What are some things that, and so because I don't watch them, I'm not creative in coming up with content on a podcast. And so there's a struggle in the creative process here. But I did Google today 12 things, or actually Google things people wish they could ask their pastor, or questions that people wish they could ask their pastor. And so there was a list of 101, but the 12 most asked questions to the senior pastor. And so I just thought, man, how cool would that be just to sit on here and answer what is the 12 most asked questions to senior pastors. Maybe some of these are questions that you've had and maybe you've wondered, and maybe some of these mean nothing to you and it's a waste of your time. Either way, we will try it and see what happens. Some of these are super spiritual and some of these are not spiritual at all. Like number 1, do I prefer to officiate weddings or funerals? I am not a funeral guy at all. I don't like sad mornings, stuff like that. So I struggle at funerals because I'm just naturally a happy, joyous person. And so I struggle at funerals. So for me, I love weddings. Weddings take a lot more work to put together. And anything that goes wrong at a wedding, they're mad at you for years to come. But for me, the joy that's attached to, joy should be attached to the funeral, but for some reason it's not. But the joy that's attached to the wedding is why I prefer to do weddings. Number 2, are you naturally evangelical or evangelistic, or do you have to force yourself to do it? This is not in my nature. It is not something that I am good at. Something that I have to force myself to do, and something that as I am having, I find it very difficult to not share my faith. I find it very difficult to have conversations about faith with people because immediately they think I want them to come to church with me. And once you tell them that you're a pastor, they start squirming and try to get out of the conversation quickly. When I was on the milk route, I felt it so much easier to have deep spiritual conversations with people than I do now walking around, Walmart or whatever it may be. So for me, that's something that I definitely have to force myself to do. It's definitely that, something that I'm, in moments, if I'm standing in line at Disney World, I'm looking for somebody's t-shirt to say something so that I can start up a conversation, or I'm looking for, a crying kid so that I can start up a conversation with the parent. It's for me something that I have to be very aware of and force myself to do. Definitely not something that I would say is just a natural overflow of who I am. Number 3, would you hire again the current staff that you have? Yes, absolutely I would. Every single one of them. I think sometimes, I'm sure this is from a movie, but or a old poem. Tony will know exactly where it's from, but like, the old saying, that what is it, like you rather dance with the devil that brought you, or whatever it is, like the concept of everybody on staff, myself included, have issues that you're working through. And it would be really easy, very similar to marriage, people who think that the grass is always greener on the other side, very similar to marriage where, you think something else may be better out there. You think somebody else may be better or better able to fulfill the role that, is being asked to fulfill. But I prefer, I'm a very loyal person, so I prefer to, dance with the girl that brought you. I prefer to be here and to be in the lives of these people, them and mine, know that they have my loyalty, I have theirs, and ultimately, although there may be somebody out there better than them, there's not somebody out there better than them for us or for me. So anyways, that's just kind of my thoughts with the current staff. So I love them all, very thankful for all of them. And as much as all of us have issues, there's nobody better for me than the ones that are on staff. Number 4, how much do you pray each week? Very interesting question. And I would say every single week is completely different. There are weeks where I call it my prayer room or my prayer closet. I have a room that is so far away from my office and up 8 flights of stairs to get here now. And it's so, when I used to, at the other facility, my prayer room was right inside of my office. And it was so easy to sneak away in there for, 20, 30 minutes. Now it's so difficult. And I know that sounds terrible. I'm being super sarcastic and facetious. It's not super difficult, but it does seem like it's so far away, which makes it challenging to get up to the prayer room as often as I would like to. So I find prayer is something that every single week changes. There's some weeks where, every morning I start my morning with prayer and devotion time. I always sneak away every single day to spend time in prayer. There are seasons where those times are hours, and there are seasons where those times are, 20 minutes. And I just think it's completely, honestly, dependent upon what I'm going through, what the church is going through. It's dependent upon where I'm at in a season. So my prayer time, just historically, and it's probably not the right answer because there's a pastor on here that's going to listen to this and he's going to say, oh, you know what Leonard Ravenhill says, you need to pray 8 hours a day. And listen, I know men of God who do that, and they're amazing and incredible. And maybe I will get there one day, but I definitely do not do that. I think it's really spiritual to say, pray without ceasing. So I definitely try my best to pray without ceasing, to always be in a prayerful spirit, to be ready to pray, or to be praying prayerfully, walking, talking. But yeah, for me, it's that hour before church, hour before work. I get here an hour before everybody else and just turn on my worship music, spend some time alone with the Lord. It's when I wake up first thing in the morning, go sitting in my corner, reading my Bible with my cup of coffee, praying there. Those are my two kind of set apart moments. Sunday morning, I always get here really early on Sunday morning just to spend time alone before anybody else gets here. So anyways, those are my set apart times. I don't know what all they got of prayer and what all they didn't, but
I think that's much more applicable to the cafeteria worker and the car salesman, of just having a time, whatever time that is, but then also being in season and out of season, and be in a constant state of prayer. I think that's a lot more doable for most people.
Yeah, agree. Number 5, what would you say to your young ministry self if you were starting all over again? I think what I would say is, no matter what, don't even contemplate giving up. I think I spent so much time early on in ministry contemplating, giving up and walking away and what I would do differently. And I think I would just go back and tell myself, hey, dummy, don't spend those countless hours thinking about giving up and quitting in ministry. It's not where it's kind of like in marriage. Whenever you go into a marriage, Maddie and I said, we're never going to say the word divorce, because once you say the word divorce, it gets easier to then talk about divorce and what that looks like going forward. So I think I would have that same sort of resolve, perseverance inside of me at the start. I wish I had that same resolve and perseverance from the start to go back and tell my younger me, hey, don't even contemplate giving up. Push through. You're going to make it.
What would you say to your younger self to convince them, other than just saying, hey, don't give up, because it's not a good deal? What would you do to convince them to say that? And the reason I ask is because I was thinking this morning that, I mean, you're 40 years old. In 20 years ish, you're going to retire.
Yep.
And after you retire, somebody else is going to come in here and do a great job. But in one generation down the road, they're going to take down the plaque that they put up after you retired, and all these things that you're working so hard towards are going to be hopefully continued, but just not in your name, being the motivator. And so it has to be more of a kingdom mindset. And so is there a way to get a young pastor to be more kingdom focused, knowing the eventuality that will come, rather than just, hey man, I'm doing it, but I'm getting discouraged? Does that encourage or does that discourage?
Yeah, honestly, for me, this is something that I've thought about since our last podcast, or maybe 2 podcasts ago, where we were talking about eventually I will leave, maybe through death, but eventually I'm leaving this ministry. And so for me, yes, it's definitely something that stirs inside of me to set this place up for long-term success, not built on Jamie Barfield. Long-term success built on kingdom success. Again, sometimes you say words and people try to pick apart the words that you're saying to make it seem as if you're something that you're not. Kingdom success, where lives are being changed. So you want to set things up here for long-term kingdom success or kingdom impact. That's not built upon me. And so I think the perseverance part of it for me would be, I was driving in this morning listening to K-Love, and the guy said that, I don't know, they were quoting some book or something about, somebody laying on their deathbed, they don't care about what the score of the game was last night, and they don't care about how stocks are doing. That's not the conversations they want to have. And so I thought to myself, man, how much time have we wasted? Myself, so many ministries wasted, so many people, not even ministers, just people. How much time have we wasted on, talking about the game when there's true kingdom conversations that need to be had? So for me, perseverance, just that conversation of don't give up, but also don't get pulled sideways into viewing things differently than what's truly valuable. The kingdom of God is the only thing eternal on the face of this earth. This church is not eternal. And the kingdom of God is the only thing that will last. And so anything you do for the kingdom of God, my grandfather died broke, didn't even have money to bury himself, but started 8 churches in South Carolina that all of them are thriving today and doing incredible, things. I have no desire to die with a big bank account. I desire to die knowing that I made kingdom impact.
Yeah, I think that the thought process of our eventual retirement or demise, either way, as discouraging as it may seem, and if a young pastor's having that mindset, or that realization that, man, one day I'm going to be gone. One day, this thing that I'm working so hard toward isn't going to be in my name anymore. My name's not going to be on the sign. That thing that can be very discouraging, I think, as soon as at least in my mind, if I get discouraged about, man, one day, everything that I've done trying to work and help the church and help the ministry immediately turns to encouragement and freedom.
Yeah.
When I start thinking about, what, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because it's all about the kingdom. Because when I die, whatever I've done here will pass away, but I'm immediately going to be with the Father. I'm immediately going to be where the impact is truly felt.
Absolutely.
And so it's very encouraging once you make that shift.
Yeah. 12 things I always wanted to ask my pastor. Okay. Number 6, what's your least favorite part of doing pastoral ministry? This one's easy for me. Very difficult to say. I don't like that this is my least favorite part of doing pastoral ministry, but it is. And so just in complete honesty here, I do not like hospital visits. I don't like hospitals, period. I don't like going into the hospital there's nothing about a hospital visit that I enjoy. Comforting sad people, yes. Going into a hospital it's just so awkward, like, I don't know if you're, what's under your gown. You don't know that I'm coming. And so you're just, got your, it's just so awkward. So for me, least favorite part of pastoral ministry is hospital visits. Most guys would say, "Oh, I hate, accountability, giving people accountability or having difficult conversations or a lot of other things that I don't really mind, but the one thing I do struggle with, I get high anxiety knowing I have to go visit a hospital." Number 7, how important is physical exercise to you? Apart from walking up to my prayer closet no. Um, I I wish this were something that BJ Munn, I love you if you're watching this. I wish this were something that were more important to me. I understand my body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and I understand I got to take care of it. And I take care of it about as well as most people take care of their cars. You're not super, some people are just super good with their car and wash it, a couple times a week and keep the tires shined and keep the, rotation and balance and, all those sorts of things. I'm one of those, where most people, when it hits time to change the oil is when you start thinking about getting an oil change. When the check engine light comes on is when you start thinking about checking the engine. So I'm kind of that way about my physique. I wish exercise. I enjoy things like playing basketball. I enjoy being active. I do not enjoy exercise in its current state in our culture of picking up dumbbells or doing cardio or riding an elliptical. I am not a fan of that at all. So, how important is it to me? Not nearly as important as it should be, because I know I want to live until I'm 80, 90. I want to have a good long life, and I know I got to take care of this old body to get there. But it's not easy. So refer back to podcast a couple weeks ago where we talked about how often we eat fast food. So
I want to chime in on that real quick.
Please.
This is an area that I struggle with for a long time, and I've developed some consistency. I definitely still have a cake pop every once in a while.
Yeah.
But one thing that struck me was I heard Warren Buffett say, he was talking to a group of people, and he told them, he said, if you got one car the rest of your life, doesn't matter, Lamborghini, Ford Pinto, whatever. If you got one car the rest of your life, how would you treat it? What kind of oil would you put in it? What kind of gas would you put in it? And of course, you would treat it like gold if you only got one car the rest of your life. And they said, that's your body. You got one body. So what are you going to put in it? And so that kind of shifted my perspective on it, and I've gained some consistency with it. And because like you said, I want to live till I'm 80. I want to see my grandkids. I would love to see my great grandkids. Yeah. So, it's a struggle that you can't ever give up and just say, I'm done. I'm just not going to do anything. It's a struggle. When you fall, get back up. Fall, get back up. Fall, get back up.
Yeah, and for me, the inconsistency is so frustrating. I hate inconsistencies in my life, and so I don't start because I know how inconsistent I am, and that's so frustrating for me.
And I think that's most people's biggest gripe about it is, I know I'm going to mess up, so why even start?
Why even begin? There's a sermon in that. Hallelujah. Number 8, we kind of talked about it. How many times have you thought about quitting ministry? Early on, a lot. A lot early on, but God is good. Number 9, in what area does your preaching need to improve? So, great question. I think this is probably something that young guys probably don't think through nearly as much as they should. And I think for me, I was never good at ending the sermon. Something we've talked about a lot. I was never good at ending the sermon. And the way God's kind of done baptisms here is kind of given me a landing spot every time, which is really powerful and amazing. So that's really him taking, something, putting something supernatural in place for me for a weakness of mine. But I would say right now, if you say right now what needs to improve, for me right now, I would say it's the balance of depth and also understanding that as you are going in depth, that there's people there. You know, my dad used to tell me, you say, hey, you know the story of David and Goliath. He said, but there's people there that don't know the story of David and Goliath. So you have to tell the story of David and Goliath. So it's the balance of depth mixed with you can't go too far in depth, because there's people here that have no clue what you're talking about. And so I love the depth, but I see, even as I start going in depth, the glassy eyes, you know, I'm lost. I have no clue what he's talking about. To which then I wish I could do depth at an elementary level. That would be what I think I need to improve on, to find a way to give depth with easily attainable, understandable concepts. That would be what I would say. Number 10, would your spouse and kids want to do ministry again? My wife says if she would have known I was doing, this was early on, she told me if she would have known that I was going to be a pastor, she would have never married me. Now, obviously, we laugh about it. She's joking. My wife and kids are amazing. They are absolutely incredible. They don't know any other life, so I don't know that they may say like, oh, you know, it's hard being a pastor's kid, but I don't know that, because they don't know anything else. I don't know that they would want to trade this in for something else. And if they would, it would be very similar to the concept we talked about earlier, where the grass is greener on the other side, but they really have no clue how amazing this is. I have done my best to protect my wife and kids from the pain of ministry, not the frustrations of ministry. I want them to know, I don't want them to think this is rainbows and butterflies, but the pain of ministry, and tried my best for them to not experience that. And so I think they got a really good taste of ministry in their mouth, and I think they are committed to doing this forever. I think, I hope, I pray for that every single day. Number 11, do you look forward to going to work every day? Do you enjoy every Sunday? Yes. Sunday's my favorite day of the week. Whether I'm preaching or not, doesn't matter. I love Sunday. I love getting together and seeing people and worshiping together. I love church. I love it. I love the atmosphere. I love the Spirit of God invading services. So yes, Sunday. Every day, do I look forward to going to work? Absolutely. I cannot wait to I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and look at the clock, and I'm like, man, I can't wait until it's 5 so that I can get up and start getting ready so that I can go to work. I love what I do. You know, the old saying that get a job that you love, you never have to work a day in your life. That's how I feel, which is why when people say, oh, you need to take time off, I'm like, I don't even work, because I love what I do. And it's long hours and it's difficult work, but man, I love it.
Yeah, I think I've said this for years, worked in the private sector for a long time in banking, and you know, the worst day here is better than the best day at the bank for me. I love it, but I think for so many pastors who love what they do, there can be, if not careful, I know you're very intentional about your family, but because some pastors love it so much, they can almost use it as an excuse to avoid the thing that they may not be good at
100%.
In the family. So
and listen, you know, I say it in marriage a lot when you're talking about marriages. Guys will go to the place to where they feel the most honor, and pastors oftentimes feel honored in the church setting because people are calling them pastor, and you know they feel a sense of honor here, and then they may get home and not feel that sense of honor there, and so they will find themselves wanting to stay at church more often because that's the place where they're feeling the most honor. And so that's twofold. Number one, to the wives that are watching this, honor your husband. Listen, he's not great. He's not perfect. He's got a lot of hiccups, but man, make home a place of honor for him. Guys need that. That is what they long for. That is one of the things that a guy longs for. Where the lady longs for security, wants to know that she's secure. The guy longs to be honored. He wants to make a difference. And so ladies, honor your husband. You know, love them, make them feel honored at home. But then the flip side of that, the ministry side of it is, if you find yourself spending too much time at the church and not wanting to go home, then yeah, that's dangerous as well, to where you can have an unhealthy work-life relationship. So So yeah, number 12, this one to me is the best question. And I think something that every pastor needs to think through. Number 12, what steps have you taken to guard against moral failure? I love that. I think there's a lot of people that don't think through steps and don't put steps in place. You know, I say about accountability. The only people who don't want accountability are the people who have a reason for not wanting accountability. If there's nothing for me to hide, then I don't care if I'm being held accountable, right? And so for me, some things that I've put in place around here, it's just kind of a culture around here, I hope. Number one, I never meet with women alone. That is something that I've started early on in ministry and just kind of have, it is a statement of who we are. It is a part of my life. I'm not going to meet with a woman alone. If it's there's a difference in a quick, somebody stepping in my office and, but as soon as that door shuts, there's not going to be me and a woman behind closed doors. Number two, I have a camera in my office that watches over me all the time for obvious reasons. Number three, my wife has access to my entire life so we share social media, but she has access to everything, from every password to everything that I have. She knows everything of everything that I do. But a big one is, especially with pastors who maybe your spouse isn't on staff with you, or maybe a pastor who you're the only one on staff, making sure somebody has access to your calendar and know where you're at and why you're supposed to be where you are. Something as simple as, I got here early one morning a couple of days ago and had to leave and run to the store real quick, to Walmart real quick to pick up a card. And so I called Maddie and I said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm leaving the church now. I'm heading to Walmart to pick up a card. I want her to know where I'm at. I don't want her to have to worry about where I'm at and why I'm, we got Life 360 on our phone where we just keep up with each other's locations. So for me, accountability is a good thing, and keep accountability in your life. Don't run from it. Make sure it's something that you put in place. And there's a lot of, money. My dad, told me very early on from the start of ministry, find somebody as quick as you can to count the money, get your hands out of church money. And so, I can count on my hands how many times I've counted church money. Maybe on one hand, I can't even think of a time right now, that I've ever counted church money, or handled it in any sort of way. Maybe a golf tournament or something like that, but not like a typical church offering or, whatever, something of that nature. So I just don't go in there. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want ever to be said of me, hey, well, pastor was in there doing. No, I don't want. I just would rather remove myself from the situation. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say opportunity is the seed of impropriety. And so if you avoid and take away known opportunities, because listen, Satan's going to throw enough opportunities at you on the spur of the moment, but if you can take away any opportunities that you would have to have an improper relationship or an improper activity, then it's just not there. It's not there to take place. And so I think just taking away those opportunities that are known is a big part of it.
Yeah, one of the things I'm going to say it was Brian Cutshaw. Could be wrong. He was talking about his busy travel schedule, and he's talking about how his wife couldn't go because she had other duties at home. So he took his daughter with him, and his daughter was, I'll say grown. I mean, she was a, late teen, early 20 type girl, and he just took his daughter with him everywhere he went. And I'm like, man, that's so awesome to know. I think traveling alone is extremely dangerous. Because you are out there in, a world where everything is new and everything is different. So, take somebody with you, man. Don't, and I know there's somebody from a small church that's watching this. They're like, yeah, that's easy that you had Tony to give counting money away to, but there's only two of us that are able to do that. Well, then I would say, I know it sounds crazy, but go in a place where there's a camera and record yourself. Like, find a way to hold some accountability in place to make sure that you don't do anything stupid.
And I think some pastors of smaller churches would be like, well, I don't know if there's anybody I can trust with it. What would you rather? To run the risk of somebody else stealing from the church, or to tempt yourself and put yourself in a place where you may be tempted to steal from the church?
Yeah. And they'll say, well, I would never do that.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Opportunity.
Absolutely. So, anyways, 12 things I want to ask my pastor. Hopefully, for my people, hopefully I answered them for you. And if you have more questions, drop them down in the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer them at a later date. Love you guys. God bless. Peace. Let's go.